Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. It's great to see you. It always is. I hope you're all doing well. Day 2 over in the Shanghai Masters. We're going to be going through the rest of these first round matches. Make sure you get your comments in with your predictions. Anything that I'm going for personally will be in that pinned comments. If you want to take a look at that, you are more than welcome to. Take it if you want, leave it if you must. It is entirely up to you. The choice is yours. But do like the video before we get started. Make sure you get yourself subscribed to the channel if you be so kind. We do continue to grow each and every day. We're closing in on 3k, so get yourself involved. It would be an honour to welcome you to the team. And since there is nothing to recap for me, by all means, if you won, if you lost, if you just come close, do get yourself involved. Share with the group in the comments. Most importantly, did we enjoy the matches in day 1? I did miss it, I was just getting over the rest of whatever that was that I had. I think I'm most definitely in the clear now. Cannot wait for this week of Shanghai Masters, folks. It's going to be a belter, but we'll waste no more time with it. Let's get right into business. Let's get it on. Van der Sandschulp, and he's taking on Nuno Borges. Should be a decent game. Tough one to call. It's a bit of a coin flip in it, straight off the bat. Split right down the middle. There is no clear favourite in this. I wouldn't have said one does anything miles better than the other. I do believe it's fairly evenly matched in this one today. But who's it going to be? There can only be one. Nuno Borges. I feel like I've said the same thing about this guy for months now, especially since we've come back to the hard court. He's beat Facundo Bagnas, Brandon Holt, and then he got another one against Watanuki in Tokyo last week. Watanuki looked fantastic in that first set, and I am convinced if he didn't get injured, after that medical timeout, he looked like absolute crap. Probably would have pulled out if that was anywhere else. It's neither here nor there. We've already spoke about that. He put in a really good performance against Taylor Fritz. I was very surprised indeed. I think that was a 7-5 and maybe not a tie-break. Yeah, it was 7-5 and a tie-break. That's as close as you're going to get. It's a lot better than what the majority have managed to do against Taylor Fritz in the past, especially this season. Van der Sandschulp, I mean, he had himself a decent run in the Winston-Salem, I'll give him that. But ever since getting beat in the final in the Winston-Salem to Martin Fucsovics, he's won just the one match. As a matter of fact, he went on a 3-game losing streak after the Winston-Salem. Beat Christopher O'Connell in qualifying for Beijing, and then got beat by Terence Atmane in the next qualifying match, and we haven't seen him since. I'm not too sure. Like I say, I don't think there's a clear-cut winner. I think they both do pretty much the exact same as what each other does. Given the current form of Nuno Borges, I mean, he's not exactly riding a lot of confidence coming to this. I wouldn't have said Van der Sandschulp is either. I just can't split the two. With the odds being split down the middle, as far as a bet, I'd just say maybe take either one for the set. 13 and 10 for the Dutchman on the surface, and then 14 and 13 from Nuno Borges. Given what I've seen from Nuno Borges against Taylor Fritz the other day in the second round in Tokyo, I know it weren't a win, but I would like to assume if you can do that much damage to Taylor Fritz, I'd say you stand a good chance at beating the likes of a Van der Sandschulp. And I know it doesn't always work out like that. The math ain't always mathing, as you say. But that's all I've got to go off. It really is. Neither one are super promising. Very tough to call. Very tough to call. You pick your poison, you pay your money, and you take your choice, and we shall move on to what seems to be a bit of an easier matchup, in my opinion anyway. I don't know, it may not be. But we've got Ugo Carabelli and Terence Atmane. Excuse me. I'll be going with Terence Atmane in this. I would have to side with Terence Atmane getting this one done. I mean, we're on the hard court, aren't we? We're on the hard court. That's usually a big deciding factor when Ugo Carabelli is concerned. He's went 4-8 on the surface this year. And how many games has he won since we have come back? Just the one. Just the one. That's right. A bit of a decent run in Miami. That was back in March. But then since that, he's done absolutely nothing. Does all the damage on the clay. And then, yeah, like I said, he's won one game. That was in Cincinnati to Nishikori. And that's it. He's won 3 of his last 10. And you're going back to Croatia for two of the 3 wins. Carbias Bayan has beat him. He had to pull out against Ben Shelton. Echeverry smoked him. Dinky smoked him. Davidovic Svrcina smoked him. It's just, yeah, it ain't looking good when it comes to hardcore tennis for Ugo Carabelli. Terence Atmane, on the other hand, we've already discussed how good he was over in Cincinnati. It was absolutely fantastic. Put in a bit of a questionable performance right after that against Dino Prismic in the first round at Chengdu. But he opened as a dog. We knew something was afoot in that one. But ever since, he's been fantastic again. Qualified for Beijing, took out Zhang in the first round, and then took a set off Jannik Sinner. Played Sinner again and looked really good against Jannik Sinner until it got to that third set, and then Sinner done what Sinner does, and just absolutely destroyed him. No shame in that. No shame in that whatsoever. It's probably going to be the case with a few of these matches today, but based on what I've seen, since not only on the Asian swings, based on what I've seen on the hard court, you know what I mean? It's probably not that hard to side with the Frenchman in this one. I would have to go with Terence Atman, if I'm being honest with you. What is the price? 1.2? Oh my god, he is a massive favourite today. 1.2, I don't know. If anything, you know me, that is the steepest. That is the steepest of parlay pieces. I would not take anything lower than that rather. And I'd have to be very desperate. I'm not going to say desperate, but you'd have to be pretty certain. Pretty certain. You'd have to have yourself something else to parlay with that. 1.2 is very short indeed, but maybe it's that way for a reason. Maybe it's that way for a reason. I don't think Ugo Carabelli is going to beat the... well, if it's the correct version of Terence Atman anyway, I don't see him beating him. I think Atman would have to beat himself today. I'm pretty certain he gets this one done. 1.2, that is a bit of a price to pay, but if that's the price that I'm going to have to pay, then so be it. It's a parlay piece at the bare minimum, but I'd rather not. I'd rather not have to be reduced to taking that one today, if I'm being honest, folks. But it's Terence Atman for me every day of the week. And then we'll move on to Rally Opelka and Benjamin Bonzi. Not a lot to say about this one. You know who I already want to win this game. Obviously, it's Benjamin Bonzi. I'm a big Bonzi fan. Do I believe he's going to win it? I believe he can. I believe he is more than capable of winning this game. Rally Opelka, if I'm going to trust Rally Opelka, it's going to be the first game of the tournament. That's it. First round, and then the question marks begin to arise. But I'll be honest with you, I'm already concerned about the fitness of Rally Opelka prior to this match. So I don't really know how I feel about it. If Rally Opelka's going to turn up and he's fit, even if it is going to be just for the one match, he's a nightmare to play against. We know what he's going to do. Even his opponents know what he's going to do. You still can't do anything to stop it. No, he's too big. That serve's too powerful, especially on these quick courts. You don't really stand much of a chance against it. And I think Rally Opelka's beaten better players than Benjamin Bonzi so far this year. He is currently on a 3-game losing streak. The one to Comesana in Cincinnati, and then it's Alcaraz in the US Open, Casper Ruud in the Laver Cup. 2 out of the 3, I probably wouldn't have given much of a chance in anyway, so it is what it is. For the most part, he's been alright. Early doors, he's alright. I always say, if you're ever going to trust him, it has to be in the first round. And I suppose it would ring the same in this. These have played each other once before, back in 2018 on the clay. That went the way of Opelka. Doesn't matter much in this. Somewhat split down the middle, or at least it was. Getting Rally Opelka as a slight favourite, call it 1.85. Benjamin Bonzi, slight dog. Now, apart from the serve and the power, I do believe Benjamin Bonzi possesses everything else. Everything else that'll be needed to win a matchup like this, but I don't know, man. He's on a 2-game losing streak himself. Artur Rinderknech in the US Open. He's played just the 1 game so far in the Asian swing, and it weren't that successful either against Fabian Madison. Straight set defeat. But Rally Opelka's yet to play a game over here, and we've seen more often than not. Even if it's just, I don't think it's going to play a part in this one. One loss for Benjamin Bonzi isn't exactly going to be the deciding factor, is it? The 1 game under your belt, and it was quite a poor one. I think Rally Opelka, if anything, comes out and just saves his way through this one. At the bare minimum, saves his way through that first set. I'm not too sure how he's going to look. I haven't seen him since the US Open. I didn't watch the match against Casper Ruud, but going off the results, it went to 6-4 and then a tie-break. That is what it is. There's always a tie-break with these Rally Opelka games. There's usually a 7. I'd say look towards the over, but that seems to be a bit of a cop-out. That's the easy path in it. That is the easy method in these Opelka games. It may not. It may not. If Benjamin Bonzi can't get anything working today, if he can't get anything going, he comes out slow, against Rally Opelka. I imagine Opelka could make this a rather quick outing indeed. We'll see. We'll see. I'd love Benjamin Bonzi to win, but I don't think I could go against the early doors power of the serve of Rally Opelka. Not at all. He should be good for at least a set. At least a set. He is the slightest of favourites. You could just take him for the one set around 1.3, 1.4. I'm not too sure what price you'll get on that. Just play it safe. Play it safe. I'm not too sure who's going to win. We could be in for a long one. Wouldn't be surprised if either one turns up and looks like absolute shite. So probably stay away from the total. I'd look at Rally Opelka just for the one set. The Medjedovic and Christopher O'Connell. I'd probably have to go with Christopher O'Connell in this one. I would have to side with the Australian getting this one done ever so slightly. We're on the hard court, aren't we? If we were on the clay, it'd be a completely different story. But we're not. I, for one, think Christopher O'Connell's been fairly decent so far in the Asian swing. Got to the semi-finals on the Challenger Tour, pulled out against Tabilo. Got to the quarter-finals, the very next tournament in Chengdu, played Tabilo again, took a set off him. Now, like we said, Tabilo did win that title. That was probably the best loss to have so far in the Asian swing. I think Christopher O'Connell, he done just as good as anyone else against Alejandro Tabilo, probably a little bit better. And then the game against Van der Zandschulp in qualifying for Beijing didn't really go his way. Not too much to write home about in that one. 6-2, 6-2. Very poor. Very, very poor indeed. Now, the Medjedovic, he ain't really doesn't really possess much of a game when it comes to hardcore tennis. But like the majority of these clay specialists, they will get a win every now and then. They won't just go winless. They will tick over and they will pick up a couple of wins throughout, the hardcore campaigns and what have you. It's just when. It's tough as well because there's never really anything to suggest that they're going to do so, especially in the case of the Medjedovic. This guy's won 3 of his last 10. This is going back to Croatia when we was on the clay. 1 win against Matteo Bellucci in the first round of Cincinnati. I mean, Matteo Bellucci's going to give you wins in here. I don't want to say too much about it. And then there's a win in Davis Cup. So someone called Andrade. I'm not going to read into that too much. I don't really know what the surface was there. Was that a clay one? Or was that... I don't know. I didn't watch it. Could have been either. But it's a 3-game losing streak since. Julian Metzer in the Davis Cup. Echeverry in the main draw in Hangzhou. And then Vukic in the first round over in Tokyo last week. It's tough. It's tough to know what you're going to get from the Medjedovic. Even when he plays really good, I don't think the results go his way for the most part. Christopher O'Connell, he's been fairly decent. 5 of his last 10. He's won 5 games over on the Asian court as well since we've come over to the Asian swing. Like I say, he's been fairly decent. It's took Tabilo to beat him twice. The one against Van der Zandschulp, I would have to assume Van der Zandschulp's going to give you a tougher time on the hard court than what the likes of the Medjedovic will. It would have to be Christopher O'Connell or nothing. I'm not picking it with a lot of conviction. 18 and 14 on the surface so far this season for the Australian, 9 and 10 for the Medjedovic. Like I said, if we were on the clay, the Medjedovic 21 and 16, 3 and 7 for O'Connell. Maybe it's just a surface issue. I think the surface is definitely what's making the decision for me today. It's a weird one, man. It really is. The Medjedovic is ranked nearly twice as high as Christopher O'Connell as well. He really is just that good on the clay. Will he beat him on the hard court? I think it's possible. But I wouldn't be I wouldn't be backing him to do so. Like I said, it would have to be the Australian for me in that one. And then we've got Camille Majchrzak, Ethan Quinn. Now we're getting Ethan Quinn around 1.6, 1.7. I don't hate it. I suppose. He opened up around 1.6, the bit of cash coming in on Camille Majchrzak at the moment. Now these played each other in Wimbledon just the once before, and it weren't that long ago, and it was quite an arse whipping by Camille Majchrzak as well, 6-1, 6-4, 6-3. Now I'd usually say if you can play that well, if you can deliver a result like that on the grass, you stand just as much, if not more of a chance at whipping someone's ass on the hard court. Camille Majchrzak's been no joke on the hard court this season. If we're going to get anything, it's probably going to be on the quicker surface, 17 and 5 to be precise for the poll, and then 22 and 13. It's been a decent season for Ethan Quinn as well. Now Camille Majchrzak, prior to the Asian swing, got himself that title on the Challenger Tour. Had a fairly decent run in the Winston-Salem. Had a close game against Sebastian Korda in the third round, didn't win that. And then pretty much more of the same in the US Open. Had to pull out against Leandro Reedy, and we haven't seen him since. So, I'd like to assume that with him being here, he's had enough time off. He's good to go. Well, I'm not going to say fresh and fit straight off the bat, but the injury doubts, I wouldn't say there's any more injury concerns for Kamil Majchrzak coming into this one. Now, even though he's beaten before, and you look at the hardcore records, he's clearly capable of beating Ethan Quinn again, in my opinion. Much more proven. He's a lot older as well, and a lot older, nearly 8 years older, something like that. Much more, I'm not going to say proven, but a lot more tested, let's say that. A bit more battle hardened, if you will. Ethan Quinn's 1.6, like I said at the start. I think this has a lot to do, and it's the biggest concern for me. It's probably the only concern other than the recent retirement for Kamil Majchrzak in the US Open. He's played no games. He's played no games on the Asian swing so far, and Ethan Quinn has played 5 of them. That's right, and he's won 3. Marcus Giron beat him in the first round in Chengdu, come through qualifying for Tokyo, beat Alex Michelsen on the main draw, ended up getting beat by Holger Rune. Shout out to Holger Rune. I had him minus the 2.5 games and that, and he made that one look rather easy indeed. But like I say, we've seen it happen a few times. Usually the player with games under the belt, and this isn't a case of Benjamin Bonzi where he's had one snide performance over on the Asian courts. Ethan Quinn's had 5, and he's had 3 really solid performances as well. Will definitely be acclimated to the surface. I just don't know, 1.6, I couldn't get there with Ethan Quinn. Like I say, I didn't hate it at first, but the more I'm thinking about it, I could most definitely talk myself in to Kamil Majchrzak one way or another today. This opened up split down the middle. Did it? No? What the fuck's going on with this? My eyes are playing 6 on me. Forget what I'm saying. 2.1 for Kamil Majchrzak's now sitting at 2.2. People are taking a bit of Ethan Quinn. Then people are taking a bit of Majchrzak. I don't think anyone knows what they want to do entirely on this one. As far as the prediction goes, I'm not picking it with a lot of conviction at all, but I probably would say Kamil Majchrzak. As far as a bet, I wouldn't mind Kamil Majchrzak just for the one set. Maybe just for the one set, but I don't know. I don't think it's wise to go against the court time from Ethan Quinn so far in these Asian courts. It may just be the deciding factor in this one today, so I approach it with a little bit of caution. Wouldn't be surprised if Kamil Majchrzak wins it. I wouldn't. But then at the same time, I wouldn't be that surprised if he comes out and it takes him a while to get used to these courts, and by the time it's took him to get used to it, Ethan Quinn's just too far ahead. We'll see. It shall remain to be seen. And then we've got Cazaux and Pedro Martinez. Quick one. Super quick this. I mean, how can it not be? It's got to be Cazaux. This has to be Cazaux. There's been nothing prior to this matchup from Martinez to suggest he's going to turn up and just spring an upset on Cazaux. It's always possible. It's always there in the back of your mind, innit? You just never know what's really going to happen. Pedro Martinez has been in the mud all year. 17 wins, 29 losses, 4 wins and 10 on the hard court, even 6 and 15 on the clay. That's how you know. That's the giveaway, innit? 6 wins, 15 losses on the hard court for Pedro Martinez. There you go. There you go. This guy is struggling. I don't know whether it's for fitness, whether it's for form. It's just for everything, really, innit? It just ain't working. Whatever he's got ain't really doing it so far this year. 3 wins in his last 10. Nicholas Yarry just about in Cincinnati. And then David Goffin in Winston-Salem. You're talking a 3-game losing streak. He ends up beating Holger Rune in the Davis Cup. And then after the Davis Cup, that was the 14th of last month, by the way, so halfway through last month, beats Holger Rune in the Davis Cup, and then drops back down to the Challenger Tour to play clay tournaments. And he had to pull out of the first match as well, so not only, he couldn't wait to get off the hard court and get back onto the clay, he had to pull out, so he couldn't even play. So now you're having to come back onto the hard court. It's just, all the signs are pointing towards Cazaux. He's been decent. For the most part, he's been fairly solid. As of late, he's definitely turned it around in the later stages of the season compared to the earlier ones. I mean, he's 1.25 as a favourite coming into this. I think that tells you all you need to know. Played each other once before, back in Madrid 2 years ago. That did go the way of Cazaux, to my surprise. I'd have to go with him on this. I said 25 and 20, 12 and 12 for Cazaux on the hard court now. He's played a lot better recently. He really has. 1-1 in Hangzhou, coming through qualifying for Beijing, beat Shang after getting bageled in the first set, then had a really decent game against Jakub Mensah in the round of 16, didn't get the win, but it was a decent performance, more than enough to suggest he is going to take out Pedro Martinez today. Look, imagine if Pedro Martinez just turns up and beats him today, wouldn't you feel sick? You'd feel so sick. I would personally. I mean, it's nothing personal against Pedro Martinez. I'm a big Martinez fan as well. I think he's a solid tennis player. He's just he's in one hell of a slump. And I don't know what it's going to take for him to get out of it. I really don't. I don't think playing the current version of Cazaux is going to be your answer today, mate, I'm afraid. Right, we've got Marcus Giron and Alejandro Tabilo. I'll be going with Tabilo. I think I would be leaning ever so slightly towards Alejandro Tabilo getting this one done. I'd like to think I've seen enough from this guy since we've entered the Asian swing. He's been unbelievable. 13 wins out of 15 matches. That's so good. Got to the final as soon as we came over here on the Challenger Tour. Got beaten that final against JM Sarundalo. Come through qualifying for Chengdu. Looked unbelievable all week. Took the title against Musetti, and rightly so. Played in Japan straight away. After that, 2 days later, ended up getting beat by Zizou Bergs. Had a close game, but you know, more often than not, we see people take a title. You don't really look that inspired in the next one, so I'll give him that one. Come for qualifying for the Shanghai Masters. He is yet to drop a set, and he looks great yet again. Like I said, 13 out of 15. Unbelievable. Can't fault that whatsoever. Marcus Giron winning the best of form prior to the Asian swing, but I will give him this. Since we've come over to Asia, he's looked alright. He's looked pretty decent. 2-2, Ethan Quinn and Sonego in straight sets in Chengdu, bumped into Binach. Third set tiebreaker. It was a very close game. Could have went either way. Then over in Tokyo, had himself yet another very close game with Sebastian Korda. Another close game, another third set tiebreak. So, even though the results may not be where he'd want him to be, you have to admit Marcus Giron he's definitely playing a lot better than what we'd seen him do prior to the Asian swing. He was in quite the slump prior to the US Open and what have you. So it's good that he's playing good. I'm happy to see him playing well and what have you. Is it going to be enough to take out Tabilo? I'm not too sure. Ain't going to waste too much time on it. They've played each other once before, quite some time ago. 2022, Tabilo got that done on the clay. Doesn't really help us in this one today. With all that being said, with all that we've seen and all that we currently know about the form of Alejandro Tabilo over on these Asian courts, I'm pretty much given, well, not what we've seen, the lack of what we've seen, what we haven't seen, more so, from Marcus Giron. These odds are split right down the middle. We are getting Tabilo as the slightest of favourites, but people are putting a bit of cash on Marcus Giron at the moment. I'm not too sure why. I looked at this one on paper and I thought, given what I've seen and what I know, it's quite easily Alejandro Tabilo for me. But I don't know. With the odds being that close, it does concern me a little bit. As far as a prediction would go, it would most definitely be Tabilo. As far as a bet, I feel like I'd probably just play it safe, take him for the one set while the odds are so close. It'd be a decent parlay. Valentin Roya and Mariano Navone. Should be a decent game. I think I'd be going with Valentin Roya in this one. I think I'd have to. It's kind of similar to what I was saying in the previous match. I would like to think I'd seen more than enough last week from Valentin Roya in Hangzhou. What a run he went on. What a title charge that was. I just felt like he deserved that title after all that he'd done. Had to play Alexander Bublik in the final. 2 tiebreakers as well. I mean, it doesn't get much closer than that. It really doesn't. Considering all we'd got out of Valentin Roya prior to Hangzhou was pretty much all on the clay. Done all the damage over on the clay. And then just came out of nowhere. Come through qualifying. And then in the main draw, had to take out Kovacevic, Andrei Rublev, Lena Tien, Corentin Moutet, and then Alexander Bublik in the final. Fantastic. No, I don't think it was. I don't know. It's up to you. I'd say it weren't as good, but he was kind of remnants of what Terence Atmane was doing in Cincinnati a couple of months ago in that run. Very, very happy with what I've seen. I was rather unfamiliar with the hard court game of Valentin Royer. Maybe it's just these courts. I don't know. Maybe he's turned a new leaf. He most definitely established himself in that tournament, so I'll give him that. And then come qualifying for Shanghai, he's yet to drop a set. Tishuan Droge and then Billy Harris, both in 2. Happy days. Happy days. It's good to see that the form still remains. Mariano Navone, 4-game losing streak. He hasn't won a game since we've come over to Asia. Had a very close one against Lerner and then a straight set arse whipping to Shima Bakoro in qualifying for Tokyo last week. That's right. Currently winning 3 of his last 10. And then 3 matches coming since we've come back to the hard court after Croatia. That's right. Struff in qualifying and then the somewhat decent run that he went on over in Winston-Salem. Suresh in 2, Marcus Giron in 2, but then since that, Booz beat him. Marcus Giron's got some revenge in the US Open, and then like I said, Lerner and Shim Bakoro. If this was on the clay, but then again, I was going to say if this was on the clay it'd be a different story, but like I've just said, Valentin Royer, up until fairly recently, I say fairly recently, up until that title charge last week, I'd have said he was pretty much just meant for the clay, but apparently not. Like I say, it shall remain to be seen. I can't deny what I've seen over in Hangzhou. I really can't. Mariano Navone, he will get the occasional win on the hard court, but there's never anything to suggest that he's going to do so. He just turns up sometimes and upsets the apple cart. 5 wins, 11 losses on the surface so far. I could not trust that. I could not trust it to just all of a sudden pull off an upset for whatever reason. I would have to side with what I've seen from Valentin Royer. 1.4, 1.45. It's not a bad parlay piece. Not a bad parlay piece at all. So we shall move on to Artur Rinderknech and Hamad Medjedovic. Tough one. It's a bit of a coin flip. Bit of a coin flip in my opinion. I suppose I would lean ever so slightly towards Hamad Medjedovic just grinding this one out. These played each other not that long ago. Yeah, Winston-Salem a couple of months ago, 6-3, and then a tiebreaker for Medjedovic. Close game. Close game. It comes down to the finest of margins. Matchups like this, you know what you're going to get from Artur Rinderknech. You kind of know what you're going to get from Medjedovic, providing he turns up, but that's the main thing. I never really know which version of Medjedovic is going to turn up. Artur Rinderknech, win or lose, he ain't exactly had the best of seasons, let's be honest, but win or lose, kind of ticks along at somewhat of a consistent level, if you know what I mean. Serve's always good, baseline game, it's good enough. We know what we're going to get. He's no joke. You know, if you're not on your game, Artur Rinderknech will probably take advantage of you. I was very impressed last time out against de Minaur in Beijing the other day. Very impressed indeed. Took a 3rd set tiebreak from de Minaur to see that one out. And I was never really in doubt that he was going to lose it. The tiebreak was quite convincing, but I mean, to get that far against the Demon, it takes some doing. Not many are capable of putting in a performance like that. I think Artur Rinderknech has been fairly decent anyway since we've come back to the hard court. He's been alright. I mean, 2-1 in Cincinnati. Medjedovic beat him in the first round in Winston-Salem. He went 3-1 over in the US Open. Had to play Carlos Alcaraz in the round of 16. No shame in that. And then Beijing last week, he didn't even qualify. David Goffin slapped him up in qualifying, but then he had to play David Goffin in the main draw and beat him. Funny old game. It's a funny old game, and then the match against the Demon. Great stuff indeed. But although it was a great performance, I would have to assume that is going to be somewhat taxing. Very taxing indeed. How's he going to hold up in this? I'm not too sure. It is a rather quick turnaround indeed. Hamad Medjedovic, like I said, he's either going to look fantastic, he'll turn up and serve the lights out and just overpower you. He does that to the majority of them. I can't even see it being that entertaining, if I'm being honest with you. I can't see the majority, well, for the most part, I can't see there being many rallies. Both of them like to keep it short. Big saves, powerful forehands, very strong baseline games. If Medjedovic can do what we know he can do, he'll probably turn up, try and just save you out, keep it as short as possible, try and cut these points as short as he possibly can. He's not going to try and stand there for 3 grueling sets. Although if worst comes to worst, that's probably what we're going to be in for. You know, like I say, fine margins. Might just come down to a break or serve. If you can't break either one, it's going to come down to who breaks themselves. That's a Rinderknech. I mean, I'm trying to make an argument for him here. I'm trying to get there on the Rinderknech price because I don't really fancy paying sub 1.7 anymore for Hamad Medjedovic. I mean, this opened around 1.6. It's now sitting around 1.7. I don't know. Like I say, if we get the right version of Medjedovic, I imagine it could just be more of the same of what we've seen in the Winston-Salem. If not, I wouldn't be that surprised if this version of Medjedovic looks 10 times worse than the one we got a couple of months ago. You know, since that run in the Winston-Salem, he got beat by Gio. He's won one game since. I say he's won one game. Had a very disappointing outing in the US Open. Got sent home in the first round by Daniel Altmaier. Won a match in the Davis Cup. Say he won a match, his opponent had to retire. And even that, I mean, he retired in the third set and it had been 2 tiebreakers against someone who's barely, well, he's not even inside the top 400. Outside the top 400, and then the loss to Holger Rune after that first set tiebreaker. Looks like he just sort of give up in the second. I'm not sold. I would love Medjedovic to win. I'm a big Medjedovic fan. I'm just not so sold at 1.6, 1.65 that he's going to turn up in this one and look oh so great. I mean, maybe in hindsight it's just going to be an easy match. He beat him not that long ago. How much can change in such a short amount of time, I'm not so sure. But I'll be leaning with Medjedovic to see that one through. And then we've got Kovacevic and Jerry Shang. I kind of want to go with Jerry Shang. I suppose I would be leaning, as far as a prediction, I would go with Jerry Shang, but I'm not picking it with a lot of conviction, a lot of concerns for the pair of these, if I'm being honest. The obvious concern for Jerry Shang being the fitness. Now, is he fit? Like, does he just think he's fit and then he's finding out after the first set that he's not? Or is he just turning up because he's in his home tournament? I'm not too sure. Because since he's come back, for the most part, he's looked alright. That game against Zizou Bergs, it was a bit up and down, a bit back and forth. But he ended up getting the win, that's all that matters. Brandon Nakashima didn't really give him a chance in the game after that. And then the match against Cazaux, he'd done the same as what he'd done against Zizou Bergs. Now, this is like I said, maybe he's just not as fit, not in as good a shape as what he thinks he is. Come out hot against Zizou Bergs, 6-1, drops the second set, 5-7, 7-5 rather. And then takes the third 6-4. Luckily enough, Bienach done him. I mean, quite easy as well. 7-5, 6-3. Had a little bit of rest. The game against Cazaux, more of the same. Comes out and just bagels Cazaux, and then he loses the match. How can you come out and do that? You can't bagel someone, lose a tiebreaker in the second, and then it's a 7-5 in the third. Is it a focus issue? Is it a fitness issue? I'm not too sure. I'll let you be the judge of that one. But you have to admit it's concerning, because he's really struggled. He's really struggled all season. And just when it started to look good, he got himself a win against Zizou Bergs. I'm back to doubting the fitness of Jerry Shang once again. So it's either, the couple of question marks concerning the stamina and the current state of the home favourites in this one. But then on the other hand, we've got Kovacevic, who's just in the mud. He's bang out of form. We haven't mentioned Los Cabo Kovacevic in quite a while. He's won 2 games since. That's it. That was the end of July. Now, he was fantastic over in Mexico, but he ain't really done nothing prior to that tournament, and he's most definitely done absolutely nothing since. Like I said, just 2 wins. 2 wins since that run over in Mexico, and one was straight after losing the final to El Chapo over in Washington. Just about got past Quinton Hallis. And then it was a 3-game losing streak. Big foe, Tristan Boyer, Medjedovic. Got one in the Winston-Salem against Filip Mislic. And then it's a 4-game losing streak again. Kekmanovic, Coleman Wong, Valentin Royer, Alexander Vukic. Hasn't won a game yet over in Asia. It's not looking good. Not looking good for Alexander Kovacevic. How you can play so good over in Mexico and then struggle this bad. It's like I say, it's a funny old game. It really is. It's a funny old game. It's all about form, and it's all about catching them at the right moments, I suppose. Do you trust in the fitness of Jerry Shang? Do you trust in the current form of Kovacevic? Answer's probably no to both of them, right? Don't think I could split either one. Both aren't in the best spot, but with all that being said, currently getting Shang at 1.4 now. That's very steep. Maybe he is good to go. I'm not too sure. I would side with him ever so slightly, like I said at the start, but at 1.4, I don't think. As a matter of fact, I definitely could not get there at 1.4 today. Absolutely not. If anything, he'll come out hot in that first set. Maybe look at Shang for the first set. If all was well, if we just disregard all that for a moment, if they were both fully fit and both playing the best tennis, I suppose a couple of factors that would sway this for me would be obviously Shang playing at home, having that crowd behind him. How much that's going to matter on the day will remain to be seen, but it always means a little something, I suppose. And then the forehand, that forehand of Jerry Shang, and more importantly, the forehand of Jerry Shang targeting that one on the backhand of Alexander Kovacevic. Now, I don't think these courts in Shanghai are quite as fast as the ones that we had as soon as we came into the Asian swing, the Chengdu ones and what have you. But they're still quick. They're still quick. And I suppose it doesn't really matter. I think when them balls come off the rackets, off the Shang forehand, it doesn't really matter about the court speed. They all look at the exact same speed, and that is lightning speed. So I suppose I would give him the edge ever so slightly. How either one are going to look on the day, I honestly couldn't tell you. But at 1.4, it seems to me that someone somewhere is pretty certain Shang's going to be good to go in this one. So maybe have a look at Jerry Shang. It's entirely up to you. Right, so there's a couple more. These are all what's left over from qualifying, so I'm just going to speed run through these folks. I ain't got a lot of business to be done with what remains. First one is going to be Jensen Brooksby and James Trotter. Now, after the run last week in Tokyo, you're getting Jensen Brooksby around 1.25 in this one today, a massive favourite. And I couldn't get there. You would have to assume he gets this one done. I'd like to think based on what I've seen in Tokyo last week, Ugo Humbert, Darderi, Holgerian, beaten by Taylor Fritz, you probably should be getting it done against the likes of James Trotter. Barely got through qualifying, Tristan Boyer and Dinky, both of them in 3. Jensen Brooksby, 1.25, not for me. I couldn't get there on either one of those today. This one's a bit more interesting, but like I say, I'm not going to waste too much time on it. We've got Francisco Comesana and Ugo Blanchet. Now you're getting Comesana as the slightest of favourites, and I mean the slightest, call it 1.8, 1.85. I imagine this will be somewhat split down the middle nearer the time. I was going to say, if this was on the clay, it'd make it a bit easier, but it probably wouldn't, because they played each other 3 times, and the head-to-head is 2-1 to Comesana on the clay, but the last time they played was in Hamburg last year, and that went the way of Ugo Blanchet, 6-3, 6-4. I'd say if you can beat this guy in clay, you stand just as good, if not more of a chance, at beating Comesana on the hard court. Now, we do know he possesses a bit of a deceiving hard court game. He can play a lot better than what you would expect him to. 8-8 for the Argentine this year on the surface, 13-8 for Ugo Blanchet. He's won 7 of his last 10. This is all on the hard court as well, going back to prior to the US Open. Come through qualifying for the US Open, beat Fabio Madison, beat Majchrzak in the main draw, ends up getting beat by Thomas Mahac, drops down to the challenger, no joy there, comes into qualifying for Shanghai, wins both his matches in straight sets. I actually watched Ugo Blanchet beat Christopher Eubanks yesterday. He looked very good indeed. Both of them have been more than convincing. I haven't seen Comesana since the US Open. He has played in the Davis Cup, no joy there, got beat by Jesper de Jong. For what it's worth, I wouldn't mind taking a wild punt on the dog in this one, Ugo Blanchet, even if it's just for a set. I've been quite impressed in qualifying, I'm not going to lie. Maybe he bumps into Comesana and maybe the surface doesn't matter. Maybe it's just a skill issue. I'm not too sure. I think Blanchet's decent. He can turn up, he can serve well. We've seen him play well in the US Open. We've seen him play really well in the US Open. If you can take out the likes of Fabio Madison, you can take out the likes of Jakob Mensah, I would have to believe you can take out the likes of Francisco Comesana on the hard courts. However he wants to go about his business is entirely up to him. It's just food for thought. And then another one is going to be Wu and Dalibor Svrcina. I'd be going with Wu. Not a bad price. I probably should have looked into this one a little bit more. I didn't really notice this one. That's my bad. But it's the first round anyway. We dig a bit deeper into these matches. The deeper we get into the tournaments, not going to pick them apart too much. If whoever remains in the next round, we'll give them more credit then. But for now, Wu and Svrcina, I would lean so slightly towards Wu, with us being over in China. Not only that, he was fantastic in Hangzhou the other week. Got to the semi-finals, ended up getting beat by Bubble. There weren't many that was playing as good as Wu was the other week. Manarino, Sebastian Korda, Daniel Medvedev, all in three. This guy doesn't get tired. This guy does not get tired. Dalibor Svrcina's looked fantastic through qualifying this week. Julio Zeppieri and then Watanuki. In yesterday's matches, I watched that one. He looked really good. 6-4 and a bagel. It's tough to know what you're going to get. On paper, I would have said these are probably fairly evenly matched. 27-12 for Svrcina on the hard court, 23-7 from Wu. Svrcina's actually ranked within that top 100 now. Wu not so much, just inside the top 160 for Wu. Home favourites in this one, probably could play a little bit of a part. I don't fancy just going against Svrcina based purely on the fact that Wu was playing in his home country. I don't. He looked really good. He looked really good in qualifying, he did. He clearly possesses more than enough of a game on the hard court. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Apart from that win against Matteo Berrettini, and it was a very, very piss-poor Matteo Berrettini, I don't think he's beat anyone quite like a Medvedev or a Korda or a Manarino for that fact. He hasn't. Berrettini and Zhang, and then Zeppieri, Watanuki. No, I would have to take what Wu done in Hangzhou last week over anything I've seen from Svrcina since we have returned to the hardcourt, more so on the Asian swing as well. The win against Berrettini looks good on paper, but Berrettini looked like absolute shite in that match, so it doesn't hold that much weight to me. And I think that's going to do us, folks. There may be one or two more that I've missed out, but for what it's worth, it is the first round. Matteo Arnaldi, Sakamoto, I've got nothing for it. I'd like to say Arnaldi should be winning a match like that, but I ain't seen too much as of late. And there's one more somewhere. I think it's Zhou and Jesper de Jong maybe. I like to think we've covered the majority of it. We've ripped the majority of the meat off the bone in this one. I ain't going to bore you too much. I will let you go about your business. Very well, folks, that shall do us. Once again, another day in the bag. Appreciate you stopping by. You all mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching the show. Make sure you like and subscribe before you go, and I appreciate that too. But very well then, you take it easy, yeah? Take care of yourselves, take care of one another. It's the most important thing, is it not? And I'll be seeing you around. I wish you the best of luck, as I do every single day. However you decide to go about your business is up to you, but do let me know what you're going for. Feel free to share with the group. Anything that I'm taking, it's in that pinned comment. You're more than welcome to take a look at that. But see you in a bit, folks. Enjoy the matches today, and I'll see you all tomorrow.